Sure, it would be a goddamn long time to reach Alpha Centauri, but I'd be asleep for most of it, and it would be over in a flash. Budapest was silent. She was binding her lip. My thin smile eroded away. What is it? Is the cryostasis system out too? Yeah, they've been destroyed beyond repair. Oh, I see. I sank down in my seat, allowing the realization to seep in. It's alright, I'll just wait it out. If I was willing to give up God knows how much time to reach transit to Alpha Centauri, it's not that this is going to faze me much. I don't have a family to get back home to, or anything like that. Are you sure you're right with that, sir? You remain conscious throughout the voyage. Sure, I'll be fine. Don't worry about me. I am... She was acting all of a sudden nervous. I think my mention of cryostasis must have struck a nerve, or something like that. What was the deal? She must have handled trips like this by her lonesome all the time. Can I ask you something? That caught me off guard, but... Sure, what do you need? Sorry, I was just thinking and... Her head turned to gaze out the windshield again. She clenched a hand against her bare, pale-skinned shoulder and looked towards the stars. I was looking at these stars and I haven't realized how empty it was out there. Before I could make a voyage easily, even on the flights where my passenger was in stasis, I could wait it out without a second thought, without a single doubt. But now I... She turned her head to me. Her voice was low, and it rippled with apprehension. My mind, it wanders so much now, and I wouldn't want to be left to my own thoughts. And I look out there and I think of how lonely it must be to float through the space like this, and... I couldn't quite follow what she was saying. She was going too fast. How can you not follow that? She must have caught on to that fact herself. She took a deep breath. Her chest expanded and retracted. Can we? Is it alright we talk? We're on our way to the military installation. Would you be alright for that? I wouldn't want to be left by myself for so long. I don't think I'd be able to handle it. Not this time. Part of wonders. Now, how I ever did it before. She scoffed softly as if she'd just made a joke. It wasn't a funny one. If anything, she sounded dreadfully sad. I stared back at her for a moment and sighed. Well, of course we can talk. I wouldn't just force you to shut yourself off, or anything like that. What kind of bastard do you take me for? You saved my life, troll, didn't you? I'll just sit here and talk to you all the way through. I owe you that much. Unless I fall asleep. Suddenly Budapest sprang up like a supernova. It appeared and made her day. I chuckled at her. I can read you like an open book, you know that? She blushed. Her frame becomes more transparent when she blushes, huh? Look, it's not like I have much of choice anyway, right? Why would you say that? The crystal system is flying, so what else could I do? Just sit there whistling for a moment, pretending that you're not there, watching my every move. I respect the privacy of my passengers here. But you've got to get us out of this mess, alright? I'm no pushover, but I still don't find being stranded in dead space to be particularly fun. Alright, I'm counting on you. Of course, sir. I'll try my best. You have my word. Truthfully, there was a little choice between either of us. And besides, I didn't think I'd have been able to rest easily in cryo sleep anyway, knowing I'd be leaving this miserable creature to her own devices the whole time. Time to get comfortable, I suppose. I sighed, stretched out, and turned my head to the stars. Budapest turned to look at them too. This was going to be one long trip. And so, like that, some time passed. We Budapest and I becoming accustomed to spending our days drifting slowly through space. It took a while to get used to, but eventually, aided by the tranquility of space and its ocean of stars, we were able to find a small measure of peace. Nice. The jetsoning of the cockpit was a stressful time for both of us, between the screaming, the close scrape, with ultimately death. Well, it certainly might have been a dangerous moment. Made for some awkward first impressions. So much for the time I just felt tired. I was sleeping, having nodded off in the co-pilot's chair when... The time is now 12:00 hours. 1200 hours. 1200. I stared in my seat. At least I knew what time it was. Budapest must have been programmed to make periodic announcements such as this. Mr. Passenger, sir. It was a lot of titles. Yeah, I'm up. What? I did a real job of contorting myself in my seat. Unknoting my pretzel legs, I peeled myself from my seat. Extending my arms toward the ceiling, I stretched to get all the kinks out of my back. Drowsily I looked ahead, at the stars drifting out in the cosmos across a black expanse. Building me up just to stargate you. There are enough of those out there to last us the whole trip. No, it just... Well, you were snoring. I want to jack up on you. What kind of cause and effect relationship is that? And also, I don't snore. I beg to differ, sir. I was just concerned because, well, perhaps you have allergies or... I don't have any allergies. Also, while we're on the matter, I don't snore. What? 1 second. Budapest turned to her display to... What was she bringing up? What? This wasn't me. This was the sound of some sort of suffocating animal, superimposed on grainy footage of me sleeping. When did she even capture it anyway? How did she capture it? Why did she capture it? I spun my seat towards one of Budapest's cameras and glared right into it. She giggled at the expression of anger on her face. See? We should get you on a more regular sleep cycle. It's bad for your heart and could lead to hypertension. Yeah, because I'm tense enough as it is. I sighed, getting settled into my chair. You always give your passengers this much trouble. What if one can get 9 square hours of sleep at night? Well, not really. Given the circumstances, you could bear to make an exception for once. It's not like you have much of an excuse not to ride. She had a point. Still, I wasn't ready to concede. Not yet. Well, you're an artificial intelligence, right? Can't you just, like, turn off your audio receptors or something? Don't think it would bother you then? I could. Kind of creepy to record all that in any case. Not gonna lie. I thought you said you didn't watch me sleep. I don't. Not at all. It's for... security reasons. I can't change the threat. It would be a breach of protocol. She was insistent on that point. I didn't know artificial intelligence is good. Blush. She was getting so embarrassingly squirmy, so visibly flustered. I laughed in her face. Alright, fine. I get it. I'll try to get some more sleep. That seemed to satisfy her. A small, warm smile crept across her face. So, what have you been up to then? I'd hope you've been doing more than watching me sleep. Very funny, actually. Well, I've been combing through our database registers. It's funny, they've always been there, here, but I hadn't really ever engaged with them in the past. Me? Databases? Yeah, they're standard in all outgoing Titan transportation systems. Trillions of archival documents stored electronically inside the holographic layers of each vessel. The database is intended for the purpose of extraterrestrial ambassadorship. It's a compilation of digitally preserved artifacts, dating back to the times of old Earth. They got that far back, do they? Hard to believe that everything else a spaceship like this one carries the full extent of humanity's cultural footprint. It's a wonder they managed to fit it all in. It sounds romantic, don't you think? Like candlelit dinner romantic? No, nothing like that, like idyllic. I don't quite follow it. It's incredible they fit so much together and all, but... It's like, well, you know when mankind first landed on the moon orbiting old Earth? Of course. It's a galactic civil holiday. Built a museum over the footprints. It's a hard thing to not learn about. She nodded. Of course, and the lunar plaque that's preserved there too. Here, men from the planet first set foot up on the moon, July 1969. We came in peace for all mankind. It was a message for visitors from abroad. Even when man first broke through the skies to the stars, they looked beyond the veil to find others like them. Budapest placed a hand on the console, silently, delicately patting it. She looked down and examined her pale, dainty fingers as she spoke on. And even today we carry their dream with us, along with their memories. Their dream of meeting travelers like us, just from a different walk of the world. I think that's really incredible. That's the sort of romantic I was thinking about. The dreamy look in her eyes was dissonant. She stared down the front of the cockpit. How long had she been staring out into the stars like that? It didn't help that I was buying her a wistful prose ode myself. It was whimsical and saccharine, but I couldn't think of a better reason a public transit fleet for commuters would be outfitted with all known human knowledge. I'd opened my mouth to respond and tried to shoot her down, but I honestly couldn't. I didn't have a better idea and, well, I'd not have been able to live with myself. Kind of loves you to trample on the imagination of a naive, innocent girl, artificial intelligence or otherwise. I turned my gaze to the stars out in front of me, opting to change the subject. I don't suppose you've met any strange, distant travelers yourself, flying about in outer space? Who? Other than you? Budapest giggled warmly. I rolled my eyes a little. Sadly no, but there are maybe 50 million spacefaring vessels from Titan Transport alone currently making their rounds across mapped space. If any travelers encounter one of us, I'm sure they'd be well met with a generous gift. I wouldn't really mind if one of those millions swung by to pick us up too. That was a sadder, smaller laugh than one I would have liked to hear. So, with the sum of all human knowledge at our fingertips, what do we do with this? She kinda started looking in her eyes. Have you ever taken a look at them yourself before this? Read up the basis? No, she said before that she did it. No, actually, reading through them was never part of my duties. That suited me fine. There was always enough for me to do to ensure a safe and pleasant voyage. A straight-laced answer as expected. What wasn't expected was the way her eyes focused hungrily, lustfully at the console. But now that you mention it, I'm awful curious to have a peek inside, aren't you? Well, we've got a moment to kill. No objections here, I suppose. Oh, come on, smile though. This could be fun. Aren't you excited? I guess I could be a little more excited to get a gander at the dusty old records of a bunch of dead folk. Actually, I was a lot more interested than I was letting on, but seeing her pout like that was a treat. I let out the chuckle as she pecked angrily away at the displays. I leaned over to get a better look at what she was up to. It was a digital interface, an encyclopedic search engine, remarkably modern stuff. So, what looking up for? Wouldn't you like to know? Actually, I would. Budapest snickered. Hold on 1 second, Dad. It took a second for the display to refresh, and then there it was. Budapest, Hungary, situated in Central Europe back on old Earth. They said it was one of the most beautiful cities on the continent. Huh? Didn't take you for an actual child. Sum of all human knowledge at your fingertips, and you look up your own name. Narcissism, is it? Hey, stop bullying me. I chuckled again. It was fun to get on her case about it. Shaking her head, she refocused her attention. Budapest was a union of 3 cities. The 2 cities of Buda and Obuda were on the hilly western side of the Danube River, the city of Pest on the flat eastern side. They were connected via bridges and... oh my! What is it? I caught a look at what she was reacting to. It was a sprawling series of buildings, with spires extending up and above the rest of the city. It was imposing and yet oddly regal and cultured at the same time. I squinted to read the caption beneath it. Budapest's Parliament Building. Its grounds extend across 18,000 square meters. What? 40 kilos of gold? They decorate the rooms with gold. I think you'd be able to find any left over for... guess not. Damn. According to this, Budapest was remarkably artistic and cultured. Oh, look at this! She brought up the image of another building, an opera house. The caption said, it already looked ancient by the time the photograph was taken. Odds were that it was nothing but dust in this day and age. I grimaced. Ain't that something? Look at this! What's that? Says here that the namesakes come from Slavic words. Buda was for water, pest for oven. I glanced over to her. She didn't seem to get it either. I guess it would fit you perfectly, wouldn't it? I beg your pardon? Are you saying I look like a water woman? That's not what I'm saying. I mean, you know water and fire, like, there's a clarity to what you say and what you do. And you've this, like, pure sense about you since, well, you know. But at the same time, you're also warm and passionate and you get excited easily, as if there's a spark of something in your eyes. Like you've got both water and fire within you. You've got a lot of faces, is what I'm saying. Sorry. I'm just rambling at this point. It was a stupid analogy, so... No, it's alright, I didn't know you could be such a sweet talker. Really? I just felt like being a little poetic. She'd really taken to the comparison. I'm not sure why, exactly. She was programmed to have a blushing animation, but... I wasn't supposed. It was nice to see from her. Calming, even. Warm. Passenger, sir? Yeah, what is it? I felt like, well, we're talking about my name and... She was acting awfully strange now, fidgeting with herself. After a brief and awkward moment, she chuckled a little too loudly, perhaps in a poorly veiled attempt to dissipate the tension. Oh, never mind about that. It's a fool's fault. What I was wondering was if... Would you like me to read you an interesting passage in Dead Banks? It would make for good in-flight entertainment. And that's another responsibility of a good stewardess. At least in this case it would... She approached this proposal with such vigor, only to stumble near the end. Out of my hand, I knew this was less about me, and more about letting her say it her own curiosity, so... Think I'd be up for it. Maybe based on the architecture though. It's depressing to think everything these photos is probably dust or in ruins now. Noted. Yes, your request is duly received. And right then, there, Budapest and I had something of a contract. This was a way of getting through the day, and it was necessarily a desirable one. What I wasn't counting on was how much sheer data she flipped through in a single date. She didn't stop at Hungary. We ended up taking a whirlwind tour through the rest of mainland Europe. Berlin, Bucharest, Vienna, Florence, Bruges. The list went on and on. She was very insatiable in her search for knowledge. It was an information overload. By the way, finally how all the AIs basically were named after the capitals of countries, right? I mean, it was mentioned in the very beginning, Paris and so on as well. Damn, she was enamored by a cookbook now. Parisian cuisine, maybe you can try making French crepes with the replicator, passenger, sir. Yep, I'm good. Oh, Castilian Perla! Really, it's Atlantic cod! Am I going to shut my eyes for a bit? I'm a little tired now, and well, you want me to get more sleep, don't you? At least you won't be watching my sleep anymore, and now that you have something to do. Roger that, sir! Sleep well! And so I closed my eyes and rubbed against the fabric of the co-pilot seat. I tried my hardest to get to sleep. It was all I could do to block out her excited chattering. I had no idea what I'd wake up to later, but hopefully it would all clear up in the morning. Whenever that will come. If that will come. That will. The time is now 1200 hours! That time again, huh? If 9 minutes Budapest was punctual, I made to undo my pretzel body from a heap of limbs, rising slowly to the day. My hair was a mess, matted down in awkward places and rusty back in somewhat presentable shape. I'd rather have woken up to the morning sun than the sight of stars. It didn't feel natural to live and sleep like this, but small sacrifice to make in this space travel. I suppose I even gotten used to it. Good morning, passenger, sir. Yeah, a lovely morning. I responded and drove to Budapest's sunny little greeting, readjusting my posture in the co-pilot seat. If you need breakfast, our in-flight applicator would surely assist you. Oh, the replicator. I'd always been wary about replicators. They sounded great on paper, being able to make any kind of food in dead end time, but in execution they left something to be desired. I glanced around the control panel in front of me, stored just beneath the enormous control deck, a smaller console attached to what looked like an ancient microwave oven kept to itself. Weird place to keep a replicator. I would suppose it was the human pilot's responsibility to provide for their own meals on the flight. I punched in some numbers. What was it? 2424? The machine hummed and then filled with a bright white light. I opened the door, and once the steam faded away, I saw a small paper cup standing in the center of the contraption. I took a look at the cup's contents. Looked like coffee. I took a sip and then gagged. I sighed. It was lukewarm too. Budapest glanced at me with a frown. Ah, you see, this make of transit shuttle doesn't exactly have the highest budget applicator. Well, campaign is coming, I suppose. I gulped down the full infernal luck concoction and then crushed the cup in my hand. It seemed to give way too easily, almost as if tissue paper could crack. Well, that was a nice little jolt of energy. What are our plans for today? More aimless drifting through the endless vacuum space, I'm guessing? Archives, films, literature, non-fiction, fiction, and something. Music? I was up for some wandering through the empty void myself. Mix it up a look, keep it fresh. Actually, I was studying the bases again while you were resting. I see you're still infatuated with them. How goes the hunt for knowledge? Ah, you see, that's the thing. As soon as I see the comment, I just go for it. Like here. See? Information. Amelia, 1992. Wait. Isn't this who your looks are based on? She briefly brought up some information on it. Looked like a drawing of a human girl. It seemed to be listed with all the kinds of information, interests, hobbies, classes. Before I could read into it too much, she wiped the display elegantly. The girl disappeared. I think I've had an easier time of getting through material, at least, generally. Well, it's all data and junk, right? You'd process this sort of stuff quickly, I assume. It's different now. I mean, sure I can read 500,000 words a minute at 100% comprehension, but I'm not really getting it like that, you know. I've tapped into some archives on fictional novels published in North America. I've been having a lot of fun reading those stories. Literature is really a new discovery for me. I've been so used to having instructions spelled out to me in precise terms, but these authors managed to communicate so much with so few words. I've had to sit back and think about what they really meant. Hey, did you know that they had book clubs for this sort of thing? I wonder if they'd let me host one when we get back. Admittedly, that was a cute little photo to picture. Seeing her hunched over books, sitting in a circle with a bunch of other navigators. What's with the rest of personal navigators? If they still had their limitation chips, then good luck. I mean, stories like that, they affect people differently. I guess that would be part of the fun of getting people to sit down and talk about. Guess it's all I know. Still, it's a fun thought, thinking of a bunch of strangers scattered across planets, discussing the same story. Yeah, it would be a lot of fun, I'm sure. She nodded, the dreamy look drifting in her winding eyes. Pick out any favorites yet? Not exactly a bookworm myself, but... Oh, I think I've got one in mind. I was really sucked into it. My Antonia by Willa Carter. I read it was considered a classic. Never heard of it. Same, to be honest. A knee-jerk reaction like another. I'm not exactly an archaeologist here. It was written in the United States, the first one on old Earth. It's a fictional work, but it's rooted in the history of the sweeping American Midwest. As I am to understand, it was really rural, lots of farmland. Lots of outdoors work that had to be done by hand in the harsh sunlight. It was exhausting, stressful work, and when sickness hit, it hit hard. It was dreadful. No kidding, with everything being automated these days, everything's a lot more stress-free. Yeah, I felt a little strange about that, and when they gathered as a family and, well, enjoyed supper, the fruits of their labor, it felt it was doubly meaningful. It was a wonderful feeling. I wouldn't want to take that away from anyone. She was surprisingly apathetic, her emotive eyes drifting to the displays in front of her. Sounds like you got a letter to this. You said it was fiction, yeah? Historical fiction, yes. Actually takes on the form of a memoir, from the perspective of a lawyer reflecting on his childhood. And it also brought up his relationship with an immigrant girl living next door. The titular Antonia, you see? It's one of those stories, huh? Suits you to be a dreamy little romantic. How did they hook up? What? No, it's nothing like that. There's no hooking up. Actually, she ended up marrying somebody else. And I resent that remark. I'm plenty grounded in reality, thank you very much. Getting a little worked up over a bunch of fictional characters, aren't you? That's the sad thing, when they didn't get together in the end. But that's beside the point. I think that proves the point entirely. Well, that's a point in my favor. Seeing her get pouty like this is its own reward. So, what do they do then? Do they just walk away from each other? Never see each other again? Most sappy romances seem to end on that note. That's the thing. The protagonist had come from a higher up background, and he had the opportunity to study, to join university, and pursue a career in law. Anthony was a poor immigrant girl, working a farm. She was rooted to her working conditions for the most part. And so they ended up drifting apart in adulthood. That's the way things are. I don't think I could make out the faces of the rest of the kids I went to secondary school with. The universe is too big to stay stuck in one place. You think nothing's changed in that regard. Funny that you mentioned that. When I was reading, it felt like the world was changing too. Or maybe it was the boy himself who was changing. In the first book, I'd gotten so enamored with how they described the beautiful landscapes and the sweeping fields, and then, when they moved in town, it was about business, economics, trade. It was as if the characters were defined by the work they did. And they were all very homesick. I can relate. You can get some boom jobs in this economy, and reminding yourself that you aren't your job is about all you can do to get through the day. Passengers terrify me. Do you ever get homesick? Who, me? The look that was gave me was complicated, filled with curiosity and at the same time concern. I mean, to come all the way out here, it's hardly a residential sector, and well, I can't say I've ever heard of it. Far as I've ever known, this ship is, well, it's simply where I've always been. On the other hand, you've traveled up, maybe you could explain the feeling. I don't know if I could. It's like, I guess home is where you live a part of yourself, and it's like, no matter how far you go, part of it's always going to be there, waiting for you. It's where you grew up, yeah, and those memories, they don't ever go away, no matter how much you wanted them to. That's what I thought, but for whatever reason I couldn't say it out loud. It didn't seem especially pertinent. But that's not in agreement regardless. It's funny. This ship's a part of me, you could say. I don't think I could ever live it, but that's okay, I think. I mean, I have plenty of recordings, and a lot of people were happy to fly with me. I can't forget their faces. Literally, they're stored in my quantum memory. She let out an airful chuckle. I couldn't help but grin in response. I don't know, this is kind of like my home in a way. I mean, I've been here as long as I remember, and I have a pretty good memory. I don't think I could leave it behind so easily. I mean, it's my directive right to stop here. Her voice was getting lower. I guess I won't really understand that thing, but all these rings just got me to thinking about how different from others I really am. Humans, they get to drift from one place to another, while I'm rooted here, shackled in functions in code and processors. I guess all people have to move on eventually, but at least I managed to help them along their way, right? So you really want to get out of here? Not so sure, honestly. She flashed me a small smile. I like how people I'm able to do that right here. And there are so many thought stories and memoirs in these databanks. At the very least, I can witness the cherished memories and the stories of others. As for me, I have plenty of records and recording logs, but not real memories to call my own. She glanced her head, rubbing it thoughtfully. I don't know, maybe I'm just overthinking things. I don't know, it sounds to me like you want to get out of here and live a little. Which would be understandably hard to get around in your current state. But I don't think it would be impossible. Eh? I was joking around when I said it earlier, but if they end up deeming you unfit for service once we're rescued, you can travel with me. It's not exactly glamorous, you see, the life I live. There's lots of sitting and waiting around to get where you wanna be. But at the end of the trail, there are incredible sights. Looking at an old photo is not the same at all. And you'll be making memories, your memories and yours alone. I wasn't exactly sure where I was going with that. It sounded like a nice enough idea as I was saying it, but she was pretty attached to her position as a personal navigator. Budapest simply stared at me for a few silent awkward moments, and for a second I wondered maybe I'd said something incredibly, stupidly forward. I mean, this was just supposed to be a favor. Thence I rubbed the back of my neck. Hey, if something like it sounds okay to you, I mean, I wouldn't mind. It sounds like a wonderful idea. Wait, really? Budapest was beaming with joy? I never exactly got to talk with people this much, but now I guess I already have a few memories to call my own. If it's alright with you, I'll hold them close. You don't really need to ask for permission for anything like that. Sorry, force of habit, I suppose. I guess that book just got me thinking about how humans hold their past close to themselves. They never really forget, and it sticks with them for their whole lives. I mean, you're not gonna forget about our trip, right? She turned to me with a teasing pang in her voice and shuffled slightly. I have no idea how I could. I muttered and chuckled. Admittedly, I was having to spending my time traveling Budapest, drifting with her through space. I accompanied her on our voyage through the ocean of stars. I wonder how long I slept this time. That was the first thought that popped into my head as I parted my eyelids, to an expanse of stars that might as well have been the same ones I fell asleep counting. Even with centuries of entertainment to fill the void, time began to lose its coherence. Minutes blended into hours which melted into days. Such is the fate of man in space, which I suppose is why chronostasis was invented, to quickly pass the long intervals between departure and arrival that could otherwise drive you bonkers. I don't think I will use the chronostasis, to be honest, if I had that situation like that. The second thought that occurred to me as I stirred awake in my seat was that, for a night, Budapest was one hell of a singer. I straightened up in my chair and opened my eyes to see her facing the windshield, her back turned towards me. She was singing an old familiar melody, one I must have heard dozens of times as a kid, in movies and cartoons. Her voice gave it a grace that I never knew it could have. I'm not going to sing. Probably. I think. Beautiful dreamer, wake up to me. Okay, I'm not going to sing. Starlight and teardrops are waiting for the sons of the rude world heard in the day. Lord be the moonlight, have all passed away. Okay, that was terrible. Her arms hung by her side as she swayed gently in time with each line, and for a moment I forgot she wasn't human. Why would an eye move so gracefully to the tune of song? Why would an eye, even a sentient one, sing for that matter? Was it some sort of lullaby meant for me? I don't know how long I thought, but she couldn't have sung me to sleep. My parts of sleep and wakefulness might have been starting to blend together into the distinct blur, but there's no way I could have forgotten a voice so genuine, so sweet. Wake unto me, beautiful dreamer, wake unto me, wake unto me, beautiful dreamer, wake unto me. Then again, maybe the point was to wake me up. She seemed unaware that her song had gained an audience, but perhaps she wasn't. I had never paused to consider how lonely Budapest must be when I slept. When I've been conscious, she has had someone to share her feelings with, someone to relate her excitement, as she digests volume after volume of human history. But for the duration of my slumbers, she's been left alone with no one to share these new experiences with. Whether she had intended to wake me or not, I decided I wouldn't do or say anything that might interrupt her singing. And so, hoping not to draw her attention, I sat perfectly still. Doing so was easy, as with every new verse I found myself more captivated by her performance, entranced by her flowing red hair and dress as they swayed with her body to the music. Just a hologram gazing out into the depths of space, singing with more emotional sincerity than any human being I'd ever heard. She turned around with verse, and so I quickly leaned back in my seat and pretended I was asleep, leaving my eyes open just enough to see the beaming smile on her face. She was practically glowing. Beautiful dreamer, beam on my heart, and as the morn on the streamlet and sea, there will all clouds of sorrow depart. Beautiful dreamer, wake unto me. She finished her performance with a contented sigh and opened her eyes. As she did, I rose to give her a standing ovation. Hey, passenger sir, you're awake? Her brave blush crimson red, which elicited a chuckle from me. Why, is that a problem? I can go back to sleep if you like. No, please don't. I was just surprised to learn that you had been listening. Why? Would you have actually put some effort into it if you knew I had been? What? She placed her hands on her hips and pouted. And what is that supposed to mean? I'm kidding. That's a beautiful Budapest. There is a serenity to her voice that's well suited for music. Really? I quickly nodded. He ought to sing more often. She was apparently caught off guard by these sudden compliments. That entering blush of hers made a return, showing accompanied by a huge smile. Thanks, sir. Truthfully, that was only the first song I've ever sung. Really? So what made you want to give it a shot? Were you digging through old Earth music on the database? She responded with an enthusiastic nod. Yeah, specifically compositions from 19th and 20th centuries. The human species had unprecedented bursts of musical creativity in their later years on old Earth. Well, I understand that. Post-21st century music isn't so great. But that 200-year epoch is widely considered by musicologists to be the peak period of humankind's musical artistry. The song you just heard is titled Beautiful Dreamer and was written in 1826 by... I smiled inaudibilely as she babbled excitedly about the history of the song, its composer, and of that era in music history. So I did share her passion for all Earth history, it was hard not to be won over by her high-spiritedness. I think I could listen to that era's music all night and not grow bored. All night. We're out in the middle of nowhere, space, perhaps light years from the nearest sun. How does she have any concept of night? Well, I suppose you won't be needing my companion. With a teasing look, I sat back in the co-pilot seat and closed my eyes. Wait, what? Well, you do have senseless music to listen to, don't you? Wake me up when you do grow bored, which at the rate that you've been digesting information should be in a couple of decades or so. Eh? I cracked open an eye to catch Budapest pouting angrily at me. You're not very funny, sir. Oh, I'm not a boy. She shook her head emphatically. I do get bored when you're asleep. Or to be more accurate, She paused and started with the next word. Never mind. It's nothing important. Protecting you is my primary directive. That's all I need to worry myself about. Do you think that's fair, for? She cocked her head to the side. What do you mean? What I mean is, do you think it's fair that my needs must always come before your own? The question seemed to perplex her. But sir, I was programmed to serve humanity. Serving is my need. I don't spend years avoiding the deep code that enemies ask AI to. No, you still don't understand. I know what you were programmed to do, Budapest, but how do you feel about it? She bit her lower lip, glancing down the floor as she thought this over. I don't know, sir. No one's ever asked before. Naturally, until recently, there were never any feelings to be inquired about. Then let's look at this from another angle. Why shouldn't you ever think of yourself? But you're a human at the time. Do you really think that being made of flesh and bone makes me any more of a person than you? She seemed surprised, saddened, and even frightened by this line of questioning, but ultimately she was confused. Clearly no one had ever put her on their own level before, and now that someone had, she didn't know how to react. At that moment I would have given anything in the world to have been able to hug her, or to even just place a comforting hand on her shoulder, but I couldn't, so I'd have to make do with a smile. All I'm saying is, if you want me to stay up with you a little longer, all you have to do is ask. She looked up from the floor, her sapphire eyes meeting mine in a hopeful gaze. She held them there for some time, staring deep into my eyes as for to ascertain my motives. The notion that I could have been making fun of her, if indeed she considered it, was hurtful, but I can't say I'd have blamed her for adopting me. I've done worse things than gave false hopes to a hologram. Would you please keep me company a little longer, sir? Of course, it will be my pleasure. Oh, thank you, passenger, sir. Thank you. She rushed towards me with wide open arms, laughing gleefully. And of course passed right through me. Neither of us could think of anything to say. Our backs were turned to each other now, the result of a cruel twist of fate. What could have been one of the more pleasant moments of this journey had suddenly turned awkward and more than sad. Fortunately, it was only I who saw it that way. After a moment or two of silence, Budapest simply turned around with a heartfelt smile on her face and laughed. She then walked up to me and wrapped her slender arms around me, stopping just a millimeter or so from my body. The warmth of the light of her projected figure made the rest of the cockpit seem frigid by comparison. Hey. What is it? Would it be right if I addressed you by your name from now on? You have it on record, right? Yes. Of course. Please, if you want to call me by my name. Alright. Thank you for being stranded in space with me, Ilarion. I chuckled. It felt so nice hearing her say my name. And the same to you, Budapest. Boom. I was sound asleep when I suddenly heard a loud explosion. The hell's gone? Explosion sounded real and something clicked in my head. Oh no. We're under attack. Shit, what do we do? What is it? They're shooting right at us. Stay away from the window. Waking up in a haze daze, I frantically scrambled to undo my seatbelt, ready to go under cover. The pressure cleaner would have to be sacrificed. I yanked it up from underneath the console and prepared to scramble underneath. Who? What? What's shooting at us? How should I know? But they're out there. Boom! I went shrinking into my dark and covered position. This was an emergency. The severity of the situation didn't seem to affect Budapest, as she simply stared out the window curiously. After a few moments, she blinked. Oh! The hell are you doing? If they see you, well, no, there are people in here to look. No, there's no one out there, just... Ilarion, it's the console. I was... playing a song? Eh? Seriously, what? I used my arms to poke my head out from my safe cubbyhole. As I combed my swiftly within heart, I could hear some kind of orchestral song. It was at the feverish pace, a poor recording. 1812 Overture, Tchaikovsky. I wanted to give it a listen. So we just turned on the song the entire time. Yes, sir. Hey, that's funny. I tried to nonchalantly play my idiocy off, but she wasn't having none of that. You're blushing. I'm not. That's just me catching my breath. I lied coolly before pulling myself out of my makeshift bomb shelter and back to my seat. Alright, Teach. What is it this time? She only stared at me for a second dumbstruck. I guess Mark was convincing. After pounds, she giggled, her cheeks turning a shade of red. Well, let's see what the records have to say about this one. It's really fascinating. They actually use a real old Earth canon as part of the instruments. Yeah, I heard. Oh, it's from a war. The smile from her face fell as she continued to read. A commemorative piece celebrating the defense of Russian sovereignty against an encroaching militarily superior Napoleonic Empire in 1812. According to this, the Russians had used scorched earth tactics, burning their cities and farmlands as the Russian armies and civilians retreated. The French overextended their lines and encountered an impasse. Deprived of food and supplies, under constant siege by Russian Cossacks, and suffering under the harsh Russian winter, they ultimately retreated. This overture was inspired by the Battle of Borodino, the largest and bloodiest conflict in the war. She read the words quietly, hesitantly. It wasn't a pleasant subject to think about. I figured you would have read plenty about war by now. Honestly, I've been avoiding the subject. It's been pretty difficult to avoid, but you were curious, so... damn it, this was my fault, wasn't it? I turned my head aside, and caught my eye, see her hand rise to her chest, clutching her fabric of her dress. It sounds so heroic and optimistic, but so my head to die. Cold, hungry, and sick. It sounds miserable. I think I'm done reading this. She raised a slender hand to wave this away. It dissipated in an instant, before silently slouching back in her seat. What's up? Usually not so down like this. They had the casualties numbers out there. I had a bad feeling well up. I didn't want to look anymore, that was all. There were so many dead, I couldn't think about it any longer. And what I think about all that misery is just, I think it's something to celebrate. So, Elfman died then, right? She nodded silently, looking aside at me. I think it might be something else. It might have been a send-off to the man that went out. I mean, they had homes and families to protect. They probably believed that they had to do it to protect them. I mean, it can't all be all about killing the other guy, right? They all had their reasons and... Well, there's always something worth protecting, and sometimes you have to put your own neck on the line to keep it safe. Is that the truth then? Her curious eyes turned to me, expecting some kind of answer I really couldn't claim to have. I hope that's the answer. Hard to say either way, but going over these old texts I found, there are many truths in the universe. I think that's one I can put my name behind. Thank you for sharing. She flashed that delicate, tiny little smile at me appreciatively. I smiled back, happy to get her out of her funk. A silence fell upon the cockpit, which was fine. I was happy to drop the topic. It occurred to me that I hadn't really looked outside the front of the cockpit in a while. Sure, it was hard to ignore, but I hadn't done any real stargazing in a few weeks. I turned my attention ahead to stars drifting off in the far distance. Rare bright stars, countless worlds, each one possibly abounding with its own form of life. The expanse of space is terrifying, but at the same time, wonderful. A little while later, Budapest accosted me with a very unusual, very interesting question. Hey Larry. Yeah? I've been studying the human concept of an afterlife, you see. It's very fascinating to see what different cultures and races around the human world thought about what came after death. To experience the struggle that mankind felt as it fought against death, grapple with the concept of the end, how they dealt with that huge looming demonic shadow that was mortality, that hung over them in darkness. I wanted to know what you think about the afterlife, Larry. I'm not entirely sure myself. It is a very sudden question, and I don't spend my day-to-day life thinking about my mortality. We smiled in unison. Would you like to know what I would want in an afterlife? Sure. She sighed, looking off elsewhere for a moment before directing her eyes back to me, an indeterminate look in her eyes. To be honest, I don't want anything. What do you mean? I'd want to just sleep forever. Sleep? She nodded, continuing her stare. I'd admit this was a rather strange situation, but she had a strange sort of sincerity that put me right at ease, even when I was several hundred steps outside my comfort zone. Yeah, it's a concept that's foreign to me, but I'd like to experience it. My brave caught. I knew she could sense my discomfort. Whether driven by stubbornness or pure curiosity, I didn't know. What's it like, Ilarion? Sleep? Well, to be fairly honest, I didn't really know how to answer in a way that would make sense for her. Well, it's relaxing. Imagine losing all your inputs for a long period of time. It's like that? Sounds scary. It's a time when you don't have to worry or even do anything. Then you wake up, freshened for a new day. I looked past her, back out into star-clouded space, trying to ascertain my next sentence. It was difficult. That sounds better, but... She trailed off, both of us already knowing what topic was next. You want to know how it feels to dream? She nodded vigorously, a glint seeming to enter her non-calm pearl eyes. It was stimulating to be sure, as if I stood a chance against her seemingly omnipresent thirst for knowledge. Well, imagine an infinite number of places, an unending amount of different people, and an indeterminable range of situations. Whatever the mind can think of. Exactly, it's different every time. Sometimes you can even bring people whom you've met into the dream. Her eyes were wide, and I could tell that she was absorbing all of it. Really? Yeah, your mind is open to, well, everything around you while you sleep. So I could dream that we're both on the beach right now? You sure could. Her eyes unfocused once more as she seemed to mull this over. I felt a strange, fizzy feeling, to show her something so innate to us, yet so unique and special to her. If only we hadn't met under such dire conditions. Distracted by the thoughts, I couldn't hold back a yawn that suddenly emerged from within. Instantly, her semi-translucent eyes darted right back toward me. Tired? I think so. I leaned back in my chair, the device out reclining for my benefit. Folding my arms, I prepared myself for another bout of sleeping. Aboard the silent, drifting cockpit. Directing my eyes back towards my companion, I noticed she harbored a very distinct look. She seemed unsure of herself. Is something the matter? What? No, I just was wondering if you could do something for me. What is it? I was wondering if I could monitor your vitals as you slept. Her eyes seemed to narrow, as if she realized that her requesting this was a long shot. Sorry for a second.